So yeah, Neverending Story. You got Gerald McCraney as his dad.
Major Dad himself.
Major Dad. Now, you know, like, these heroes' journeys, you know, they always have to start in sort of the drab everyday. So, like, how perfect is the beginning of this, where your dad is Gerald McCraney? Could you get a more boring, like, straight-laced dad? Like,
you can't talk. And, like, this movie, it's been a long time since I've watched it. There's a lot of space and hanging out in this movie.
Yeah.
And another 80s trope is the putting an egg in a blender.
Yeah, we're going to be doing some Rocky stuff coming up. And it is like, I feel like, yeah, Rocky started the egg
in the blender.
The sort of...
you gotta... I always
But Rocky didn't use a blender. He just, like... I think this was, like, a way to make it more appetizing to a larger thing. But, yeah, like... So it's like... And it's like, this is the drab reality he has to escape from. So his dad's Gerald McCraney. His dad's breakfast is like an egg. There's no mom there. And then it's not... He doesn't... Like, this is like a movie that's like a German book, and then the movie's kind of like a German co-production or a German production and stuff. So it's like Europe. So you'd think there'd be like a cool French press or something for coffee. But again, if they had like a cool French press... There'd be no need for the escape. Like, you got to have this really, like, just all, like, the worst that, like, modern 80s, like, yuppie world
has to
this
offer.
Like, sterile, you know, unloving world, you know?
He's having trouble with the Skippy jar.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, hard-ass dad has to, like, open it for him, and he's like, let a tough guy handle it.
Right? Yeah.
Let a real man
And then he's getting, like, bullied by these, you know, bullies and stuff. Bullies in America weren't like that. This is
German bullies. They put him in a fucking dumpster.
Yeah, they throw him in a dumpster. They are relentless.
And I realized that I was like, this when they're backpack styles. I was like, okay, this is like those are definitely like not American.
Yeah, this
style.
is because like if you know on the DVD and stuff, there's like a trailer, and you know, it'll show like. The trailer, they have like some pieces from like the German version, which I guess was like done first or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like you'll see like in the trailer, they'll show like the book in the store, and it says like the unendige Geschichte or whatever it was. You know, like they have that on the cover.
I was looking where they filmed set stuff and the special effects stuff seemed like filmed in Germany. This was filmed in like Vancouver.
Okay.
So this cityscape here.
The city is Vancouver, and then the sets are German.
Yeah, and you can Spain and stuff.
You can kind of see that, like, when they're in those like sort of fantasy sequences, and like you know, it's all the like puppets and stuff, and you know, and crazy outfits and stuff. When they're talking, like the lip sync isn't quite spot on.
Yeah, it could be. They could be saying anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it really like and with the actors and things, it is like it's not it's got the sort of European voice dubbed, you know.
Yeah, like
they play fast and loose with the lip sync.
When we cover rock, we're gonna have to. I'm still thinking about like the '80s. Only a hard ass tough guy drinks an egg in the morning, a raw egg. Talking about like mom dying and stuff. I was getting kind of like this kid was doing a good job. As an actor, his performance and stuff.
Yeah, who is he? Because I feel like he's been in other stuff.
I
can't
like an 80s remember.
It's not Will Wheaton.
It looks like
Will
like,
Wheaton.
He's like in the Will. From
well, you know he was. I think he, and it's not Elliot from E.T.
Henry Thomas,
who was in a movie with. So it's an Elliot lookalike in a movie with and then you got Gerald McCraney, who's a Dabney Coleman lookalike.
Definitely,
so that it's like you could see these two being in Cloak and Dagger. You know,
an upcoming Total Recall.
Yes.
And the director of this is Wolfgang Peterson.
Right. Yeah.
Das Boot.
Yeah.
I think he also another connection. I think he might have directed Air Force One with Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Get off my plane.
Yeah, so they do like set up this like kind of bleak reality, and he's kind of like the protagonist in the sorts of stories he likes to read. You know, this sort of like orphan, like not an orphan, but like a boy whose mother died, and kind of in living in exile, you know.
The Neverending Story. It's like he's reading. He's like reading about Atreyu.
Yeah.
And it's a Neverending Story. We're watching him,
right.
and you're watching us watch
right,
him watch.
This is the Neverending Story. Yeah.
And I love when he goes in the attic of the school to read.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cool fucking attic, but it's insane stuff's in there. There's a skull like on the shelf and a wolf's head.
The attic is a mythic space, and so like he's on his hero's journey, and then Atreyu's on his hero's journey, and so like when he's in, you know, the sort of wild, untamed land of danger, the cave that you fear to enter is like the attic. Of that school, and he's gone off the path. The regular path would be to just continue with his school day, but he's gone off the path. Now he's like, you know, inside the walls of the school, basically,
so awesome.
You know, as everybody else is going along with their regular day.
There it is.
Yeah, and so in the trailer it has that shot, but it says like, yeah, the unendige Geschichte or whatever.
It says like Scheiss.
Yeah, Scheiss film. Yeah, Scheiss Gruber.
Oh, God. Oh.
Scheiss Schmeckel. Scheiss Schmeckel 2.
He moves that picture.
Scheiss Schmeckel 2. So here he's glimpsing in at the sort of everyday drab life, and this isn't too far off from like my
84.
school life, except that I was in Catholic school, so this place seems like a super cool, laid back, fast and loose kind of place to go to school.
You're getting like your knuckles cracked.
Right, exactly. I needed the Neverending Story even more than Bastian needs it.
Yeah, there's like a skeleton skull in there. There's like mad scientist stuff.
Well, yeah, because also we're kind of like you're crossing thresholds, and we're getting closer and closer to that world. So it's like, you know, you got this everyday sort of urban world, and then now you're in this closet where it's like if you squint, you could be in like a wizard's cave or whatever.
Love it.
You know, you know, even those like sort of those like glass balls with like the stuff,
like Frankenstein.
Yeah,
stuff.
it's Frankenstein stuff, or like an alchemist or something.
Yeah,
you know, be using. So yeah, then he starts the book, and it's like, man, I love this stuff. And again, like this is coming out in sort of like the Dungeons and Dragons era. And I gotta say, I read the Neverending Story for the first time like a couple years ago.
I've never read it,
and it's like one of the most like fun experiences I've had with a book like ever. It's so good. It's really good. It was really inspiring. I was inspired just as a creator reading this thing, because and I sort of read it shortly before I did GoBot, so I feel like a little bit of it rubbed off on my approach to GoBots, because it just has this, it just like unfolds at this really interesting rate, and it keeps going in all these like unexpected directions and digressions, and covers like a lot of ground in like really short amount of space. It's a lot of fun.
It's on my reading list, Tom.
And so this rock biter guy, he's a total Kirby kind of character. You know, he's like the Thing or something.
Just the way he looks.
Yeah.
And that bat freaked me out when I was little. Mm-hmm. Even though it was like...
He's like friendly and nice and cute, yeah.
And there's like werewolves that scare the crap out of me in this, and like...
Yeah, the rock biter, he's got sort of like the scooter version of Fred Flintstone's car, you know.
He's like, he's like, sorry to bother you.
He does make rocks look delicious too. You know, limestone. And you start thinking like, well, maybe limestone has a little lime flavor to it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you do get sort of like some of the bad dubs in this scene where it's like these voices are not the voices of the actors. And then, yeah, like the Luck Dragon, Falcor, is the voice of He-Man.
That blew my mind, man.
Who I think is also the voice of Skeletor. It might be the same guy.
Yeah, like total. Oh, those gotta stink. His giant like he's got like toe jam.
Yeah. Well, they're like in the mud, you know. Yeah. So look how delicious that rock looks.
Looks so good.
It's all sparkling, and he like you think about it, he does have the He-Man voice, you know. He's going, oh, it's me, Falcor. Except he's like, it's like He-Man falling asleep or something. He's like, oh, I'm a luck dragon.
What's the He's like, oh, my schedule's too tight. I think I have to take an Ambien.
Right.
Or he's like, I've been burning the candle like, huh?
Right, I'm a busy guy. I'm He-Man and Skeletor. It's not easy. Oh, put him up.
I better take this Ambien and wash it down with some red wine. Wake up, Falcor, wake up! Like, Falcor's not waking up.
The quest is so fun, and it is like he's off on his quest. You know, Atreyu and his horse, and then Artax like dies almost immediately. You know,
that's
a rough one. That's a tough pill to swallow.
Look, watching it now, I'm like, hope someone from the Humane was on set there.
Yeah,
I think that horse is getting jostled a little bit.
I hope this isn't a like Milo and Otis situation,
or like the one of the old Tarzan movie where he kills like a lion or something.
When they go to like the palace of the Empress, or is that she's called the Empress?
Yeah.
In the book, she's called the childlike Empress, and then it's like, I guess in German it like makes a little more. The name makes a little more sense. It's like the Kindische, something, you know.
That she looks like another actress, like
a current,
or like 90s actress. And I can't put my finger on like who she like looks like. When that rock monster has his big feet there, Quentin Tarantino's like losing his mind. He's like pitching a tent. He's like
this is Quentin Tarantino's Neverending Story. I wonder if they'll do the Neverending Story. Seems like a movie that might end up on the cinema, Video Archives podcast.
He's like furiously jerking.
Those the rock biters' feet. They look like what they used to make the big footprints.
The hoaxers. Like Patterson Gimler using that. He's like, I'm gonna step out of. He has to have to step out for a second.
You know, I kind of like. Because this movie's so great and it's so much fun, but it's like, if it were made today, like, there'd be so much more of the fantasy, and the fantasy would sort of luxuriate, and, you know, it would be much more epic, but it would be CGI. It wouldn't be all these cool puppets. So, like, it would be so great to get just, like, more of this. Yeah.
This is what we want. Like, there's some executive at, like, Disney Plus, they're like, we need a seven episode series on the rock monster. They're
now,
like,
right, exactly. Yeah, they go too far. The story of this movie it's the halfway point of the book. Like, this whole movie is just half the book, and then there's a whole other. And like, I've tried to watch the Neverending Story Part 2 a bunch of times. I still haven't gotten all the way through it, and I'm guessing that they don't cover what they covered in the second half of the book. I'm assuming it's a departure.
Just like the Return of Swamp Thing, I've seen the Neverending Story 2 an inordinate amount of times. When I was younger, I can't remember anything, but we rented that a lot for some reason. Jonathan Brandis, I swear he's in that. I think
for me, like, the name was just too stupid. Like, how can there be a Neverending Story Part 2 if it's never ending? How is there a part? Like, it just like, I couldn't get past that, so I just never. And
that's so ridiculous.
and
that is so funny.
It is. And as a joke, I would always sing the Neverending Story Part 2.
That's so fucking ridiculous. The Neverending Story 2.
Yeah,
they should call it the sequel, like Airplane. It's like the Neverending Story 2, the sequel.
So like, there's this movie, it's like the whole adventure, and it is kind of like a nice place to end the story, but again, like, the author had more of a story to tell, and so, with that orange background, it really does look like Fred Flintstone. So, like, the first half is this adventure where he saves Fantasia and gets control of, is able to create whatever he wants there, but then he continues to create and continues to create and continues to create, and like, just creates like this whole new like universe and stuff there. And then as time goes, like, he just spends like years and years in Fantasia, and eventually becomes like this malignant presence. Like he becomes sort of like evil and starts to like destroy Fantasia and ruin and goes on this whole other journey, like really interesting.
I got
this darker journey.
Dude, this is on my.
I loved it. Like I had so much fun. It like kind of blew my mind. And like,
did you say you read it within the last year? Or
Yeah,
just a couple
not
years?
a couple years ago. I read it, and it was like, wow. Like, why did I wait so long to read this?
Dude, like, I miss movies like this too. Like these like the paintings and the colors and
this era just like
juicy.
It was, we talked about Labyrinth. Labyrinth. This Legend with Tom Cruise. Crawl. Just this kind of fantasy, and they all kind of blend together.
Crawl would be a great double bill with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the New Beverly, have Crawl and the Neverending Story.
Wow, that'd be. And then we were mentioning in other episodes, we're gonna get movies like this forever. Like
right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like this is what movies are, and they're only gonna get like more out there, and then it's like, it's over. Like. By like 1989 or whatever, it's like, okay, we're done with this kind
of.
Turn
out the lights, the party's over.
Yeah, until like the Lord of the Rings, like that was kind of.
I can't wait to cover that. Look at that bat did creep me out.
Yeah, I think these things that are ostensibly friendly are much creepier, and you have those and I just think about like the fantasy art of the time. So there's like kind of weird rock creatures with like the big heads and stuff.
Looks so cool.
It's not a like standard fantasy world. It's not like a medieval European like Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing. It's like something else. It's like, just like that's like a very specific 80s mode of fantasy that's not tied,
that's why we love Crawl.
Right.
It's like Crawl, and we mentioned it in the Crawl episode, Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Like
right,
the Spaceballs vibe. Like.
Well, yeah, because we are close to parody when you have those sort of like giant heads and stuff. But the acting, like this guy's selling it. Oh yeah, and then these double faces.
So cool.
Yeah, this guy's selling. Yeah, you know what it is? It's also like because the music's so important. And like the little musical cues throughout, and then the theme song and stuff. It's a new romantic aesthetic too. It kind of goes hand in hand with like the new romantic musical movement of the 80s.
Dude, I'm like, I want more of this.
Yeah.
I need more of this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe we're like past a certain era of streaming, so it's like the Willow like the Willow TV series came and went, the Dark Crystal series came and went, so it's like I guess we're not gonna get a Neverending Story, streaming series or something.
That I've been meaning to watch I haven't even watched the Willow series.
Yeah, I started it. I mean, it seems cool. I just didn't get
too far.
And then I was like, oh, well, let me rewatch Willow first and then watch the series. But again, and then I didn't even get all, nothing against the movie. I just, for one reason or another, didn't.
We should watch the series and do a Willow episode.
Willow, yeah, and I watched a little bit of the Dark Crystal series and really liked that. So we got it. Like the Dark Crystal one was pretty great. So like, yeah, we got to do all this stuff. It's just like sometimes you're just like in the mood for like a certain thing, and not, but yeah, we'll put that on our to-do list. Willow and
Dark Crystal. Wolfgang Petersen's follow-up to this is another future Total Recall episode, Enemy Mine, with Dennis Quaid and Lou Gossett Jr.
Yeah. Yeah, another one with like kind of like weird special effects,
Yeah.
Questionable lip sync.
Yes. And Lou Gossett in the 80s was firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, Mr. 80s.
Mr. 80s.
Iron Eagle and,
Officer
and was he an Officer and a Gentleman?
Yeah, he got an Oscar nom for that.
Officer and a Gentleman. Yeah, he's like the military guy who you want his respect.
Yeah,
and you're gonna have to earn it.
He's someone we gotta get him on the Total Recall show.
I was definitely thinking of Lou Gossett when I was working on Transformers versus G.I. Joe. Like he would totally be in a G.I. Joe movie. Like,
and a huge part too is of this flick is the music by one of the masterminds. He's come up on the show before, Giorgio Moroder.
Yeah. Although, and like I loved like when I was a kid watching this movie, like the music, the little musical cues and stuff, they were like, it was like ecstatic. It was like it would like make my hair stand up. Like it was just so amazing.
Tom, same with me.
Yeah.
Like these 80s movie songs are another one of my other gateways into music. Mm-hmm. Like this song and like the Karate song from Karate Kid Part 2 by Peter Cetera, like,
Yeah.
I am the man who will fight.
Well, there's, I mean, like, it's all this, like, cutting-edge synthesizer kind of stuff going on in here. And, like, it was, like, sublime. And then, like, I got a little older, and then I'd revisit this movie, and then all that stuff just seemed so cheesy all of a sudden, like, so out of date. But then now, it's, like, reinvigorated. It's like now it's got the glow of nostalgia, and it's wonderful all over
again.
Yeah.
And another Goonies. I love a good song in relation to a connector. So
especially if it's a song that has the title of the movie in the song. You know, great villain in this, the Gamork.
Oh.
Again, like, I love this movie. This movie's so great, but like the book, like, even more so. The book.
I'm reading it, Tom.
Yes, and there's so many cool sequences. I'd love to do a comics adaptation of the Neverending Story book.
Shit.
But I think it's one of those things where, like, I think the rights are in some kind of complicated. There's some
like a
complicated
labyrinth
state, going on with the rights.
I'm so cracking up. Tarantino's loving that, like, rock monster speak. Yeah, the horror. They go. What's this? Swamp of Sorrow.
Yeah, and it meets that giant turtle.
I love that. Great vistas.
Who's kind of like a, just like one of those old comedic types that like, I don't know, Ed Wynn or something. Like, there's got to be some kind of, like, old, guy that would be on like one of those Dean Martin roasts.
Oh, hell yeah!
This turtle's based on.
He's like, nothing matters.
Yeah.
Like an Eeyore.
Eeyore, yeah. Gamork.
Super creepy.
Gamork and Mindy. Yeah, and again, like, this and, talking about, like, Labyrinth and stuff, and this, it would, like, so, like, when I was a kid, it would so influence, like, the kind of little stories and drawings that I'd come up with and stuff. Yes. Like the two sphinxes that shoot lasers out of their eyes and face each other, and the idea of the nothing is such a great concept.
So
it's
good.
Just this nothingness, like, you're not even fighting it's not something you can punch or shoot at, or, like, it's just everything's dissolving into nothingness. And I feel like it was like Crisis on Infinite Earths, the comics, and I feel like it was kind of taking a little bit of stuff from this, sort of like the universe is kind of coming undone, and
the when I was a kid too, like, I'm like, whoa, the hero is just like, he's a kicking ass and he's like a little kid kind of too. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that move really, like, caught me.
Yeah, and everybody is kind of like, oh, this punk. Like when he shows up, everybody sort of underestimates him and stuff. When he's eating his lunch, it's like, oh, that lunch looks real good.
That apple, and when you're playing video games when you're a kid, or going the distance on, like, some kind of, like a Saturday in the summer, you got to have your little, like, snacks around the house.
Mm-hmm. In this, like, he has to come up with a name, like, to save the world. He has to come up with a name for the princess or the empress, and he chooses his mother's name, which I don't remember if that's spelled out in the movie or if it's just like I know that from the book or whatever. But then he says her name, and I was watching. I was like, oh, what's he gonna, like? Because as a kid, I don't remember ever hearing the name. But then I watch it, and he says, like, Moonchild. I think was that.
I can't remember.
Yeah, he says. I think it's Moonchild. He says Moonchild. He screams Moonchild, and it is like, okay, yeah. It's like then you start getting an idea of the backstory, and that, like, his mom. You picture his mom being like Jenny in Forrest Gump. She's kind of this, like, hippie who, like, things went a bad way for her, and so. But then I was also wondering, like, oh, maybe in German, like, maybe, like, Monica means Moonchild or something. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there's some more conventional name that, like, in German means Moonchild, but in English you have to say Moonchild.
Jenny for Forrest Gump.
Yeah. Yeah. How did Jenny end up with Gerald McRaney, Major Dad? Who is the mom in Major Dad?
I forget her name. He's like Atreyu. He meets up with the character Lieutenant Daniel or whatever. It's like...
What we can do, a Moonchild by King Crimson. Do you want to try the
Moonchild?
Standing on the garden. Moonchild by King Crimson.
Bastion, what happened to your mother?
We got it now. Turn around. Kind of relax into the boat. Like, when I was playing this at home, I was kind of like, Because because there's like turn around, never-ending story, part 2. Giorgio Moroder is going to produce the Total Recall show LP. Yeah. We're doing that story like the guys from Sparks did.